At the end of talking to these 23 odd companies and several managers through the hierarchy, ending up with the boss at the top, it was easy and tempting for me, and at the epilogue level, to try and draw lessons. My focus for the book was on innovation. So you started asking the question, so how do companies innovate? And as an academic and as an expert, Joe's would be the expert in talking about a learning organization and things like that. So this is the practitioner's view, the thing that I heard, the thing that I sort of deduced. And you get many answers. Companies follow many, many different ways in which they learn, in which they innovate and grow, in which they thrive. And that will differ by sector, by size, by the stage of their growth. So obviously, a startup working in a tech-heavy and a knowledge-intensive industry will have a different sort of a worldview than maybe a rigid, hierarchical, a manufacturing sort of a company. So there are many roads to the top of the mountain, and I found it would be arrogant to sort of present a grand unified theory. Nevertheless, basis the meetings, the interviews, the many months of research, few things did emerge. The common things that emerged was leaders, especially at the top, have really got an unwavering vision. It's a cliche in our companies to talk during mentorship sessions that please choose something for which you have a passion, because passion is something that will take you through the troughs. Everyone likes to work in an industry during the good times, but if you're to build a career, there are also going to be bad times. So it's passion that's fine. But if you are an entrepreneur, if you're a founder, and you've actually invested significant part of your life, your money, your resources into it, you really got to believe in what you want to do. I found that whether you're the smallest startup or the biggest conglomerate, people with vision tend to always score. The other big common theme that ran across successful business leaders was a very great ability to tell your story well, communication. And this actually, all right, business leaders tend to be good communicators because they tend to have a lot of practice. They speak all the time to employees, to influencers, to media, to analysts, to investors, to customers. But they need to carry a team along, unlike a lot of people who need to manage maybe a small team and things like that. If you want to manage a company of a few thousand people and large companies of several thousand people, 100,000 people, how do you convey the message? And I'm particularly enthused by this because when you say you need to communicate your vision and your story, you tend to think about managerial communication. And companies have systems in place. I mean, there's cascading and all of that. But in the research, I also came across a completely fascinating aspect of communication. Suresh Krishna of Sundaram Motors is actually a part of the book. And he has a completely fascinating story. He runs Sundaram Fasteners, and it's a manufacturing outfit. And for 50 years, they haven't lost a day to industrial unrest. And the way he does that, I mean, at the core, obviously there are many things he does. At the core of it is communication. He talks all the time, and he doesn't talk about just economics and business management. He talks about everything. He talks about life. He talks about politics. He talks about what the company should do. He talks about where the company should be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. He talks about setting goals. He talks about setting milestones. He talks about making those milestones achievable. I if you read the story, you'll see glimpses of that. It's taken him decades to achieve that, so it can't be encapsulated in a chapter. At the other end, you would have a person like Narayana Murthy of Infosys. I know he's in the news a lot these days because he's seen as this villain, who is coming in to disrupt Infosys and all of that. But if you ever get a chance to speak to the man, you will know that the beliefs that he holds are very dear to him. And he puts it across very simply. When you ask him about Infosys's legendary reputation for corporate governance and values and all of that, he has a simple answer. He says, it wasn't very difficult to build a company that believed in ethics because that's how we were raised. I mean, our parents taught us simple things in life. Not to lie, not to steal. I saw I didn't see why it should be different if you do it outside your home and you do it in a company. Now, to do that at scale is a massive thing. I've been in Infosys, so I know there are systems and processes involved. There are ways in which they cascaded. There are mentorship programs and all of that. But to actually execute on what you believe is really difficult. Communication, to me, is one very big peg. The other common thing, the third out of 4. The third I found was energy. Business leaders really have insane levels of energy, and I'm talking about raw physical energy. These are guys who travel so constantly between geographies, between cultures. So you'll find all of them really pack a lot of physical energy, and they do it through fitness or diet or whatever it is, but you'll see that. And it's one of those things that sort of struck me. And lastly, and some of them will find it unpalatable, I think really good business leaders, for want of a better word, are ruthless. There is a vision. There is the ability to communicate. And many of them, they might say the nice things. They make politically correct statements, but I found all of them are so passionate in what they believe that they really are prepared to be fairly strong and ruthless about achieving their aims. So all these cliches, steel hand covered by a velvet glove and all of that, I believe is completely true. So if you want to ask common themes, these are the things that I found: vision, communication, energy, and a touch of ruthlessness.
Thank you, Vijay. I think I was going to ask a question to Mr. Vaitheeswaran. I'm not going to do that in the interest that we can actually get more questions from you. So please introduce yourself. Also, please let us know to whom you're asking the question, to Vijay or Vaithi.